Hello. This video is being made today because I have a litter of 10 puppies that are 8 weeks old right now that will be delivered to new owners when they are 9 to 10 weeks old. And in thinking about their companion dog puppies, not LGD puppies, so they're going to new homes earlier than I'm accustomed to people who have less training. I make that assumption. Than people that buy pups from me. And as I think through how these puppy dogs that I care a lot about may be managed, there are some things that I want to share with you. So, one of the first order of business is safety. How do you keep the pups with you when you get them from me and when you do things with them? So, the harness that I prefer to use is a New Balance harness. I think that's what it's called, balance buckle harness. Shelby can give you information about how to order these. Has lots of adjustments. I leave the neck one together. Dog's head goes here. Goes over the dog's head like that. Comes up under the chest and attaches. Anyway, it's a very cool harness and I like it a lot. I don't use collars on any kind of a dog that might pull because it's easy to do tracheal damage to dogs with collars. Puppies often are very frightened about collars. They're claustrophobic, they worry, and there's just no need to do that to them. Puppies will handle a harness really well, and we'll see if I'm right because I'm going to do that with 4 or 5 different puppies on camera and let you watch how that goes. I use a front attachment on this harness because if I take hold of the chest of a dog and the dog creates tension with that harness, it'll turn his body slightly sideways, and I've taught all my dogs to watch my hands. My hands are targets, so I can get the dog's attention and redirect it back to me so there's never a tug of war. We'll go over that more. New owners like to do it well. They like to train their puppies. They like to think that they're doing a good job with their puppies. That often means that new owners have expectations of themselves as trainers, and they have expectations of puppies in terms of performance. That's a tricky thing. It's not a wrong thing, but it's a tricky thing. And oftentimes it challenges a new owner to reach outside the box and question what you historically believed as trainers. And anybody who's lived with a dog is a trainer, because if you're around a dog, dog's learning from you. So whether you want to be a trainer or not, see yourself as a trainer or not, you're it, because you're with the dog. Used to be that you asked a dog to do something. If he didn't do it, he maybe got scolded. If he did it, he got reinforced. But there's a performance to it. There's a right and a wrong. And what that does for a dog is it gives them an opportunity to choose the wrong thing and be wrong. My goal here on this ranch is to raise dogs that have no idea that they could make a mistake. And that is a completely realistic thing to do. Screamingly realistic. So what I do in getting the behaviors that I need, because I very much get the behaviors that I need, I set the dog up for success by asking for behaviors that I want in a way that the dog is likely to be able to give it. If he gives me the behavior I'm looking for, I very enthusiastically reinforce it either with my touch or my voice or treats, depends on where I am in training. The marker, we'll talk about that later. If I don't get the behavior that I want, what that means is that I asked the question wrong. Not that the pup was wrong, it's that it wasn't framed in a way that the pup understood it. That's great. I just remain cheerful, change my approach, change the question, and I get what I need. And if I don't, then I go back and I study or I reach out to a mentor or whatever. So the dog is never wrong. Dogs that are never wrong have no tension about training sessions. Training sessions are an opportunity for a party. They've never lost. It's always been wonderful. It's always been interesting. It's always been a fun thing for them to interact with people, so why wouldn't they? So dogs that have been trained that way come when they're called, make a lot of eye contact, offer a lot of behaviors that you can thank them for and turn into new behaviors. So it's a gateway it's just such a logical approach to training, but it's not how I was taught, and it was new to me, and it felt clumsy, and it felt limiting to me initially, because if I can't correct the dog, how do I get what I need? And so when I was told you can't correct the dog, I said, okay, if you're going to take away that tool, you better give me another one, because you still need a dog that's going to do what I ask. And the answer to that is that you redirect the dog, reframe the question, ask it differently, and reinforce pieces of behavior that you get. So if you're asking for, as an example, sit. Sit is the dog is standing, the dog is sitting. One behavior, right? No, sit is like 10 behaviors. Sit is eye contact, dog looks up, body shifts back, butt goes down, chest comes up, dog settles, there's the dog. If you're trying to create sit with the dog, if you reinforce the very early pieces of that, it will lead the way towards the whole behavior. So if you need the whole behavior perfectly before you say thank you to the dog, it's inherently frustrating to everybody, including the dog. If you grab pieces of behavior that you like, that are going to be building blocks for other behaviors that you like. One as an example is eye contact. Eye contact is part of everything I do with dogs. So from the time the puppies are 3 weeks old, I am paying for eye contact. Again, it can be voice, it can be my touch, it's not always my clicker and my pouch and food and whatnot. Dogs don't work for food, strictly speaking, and food is not bribery. So bribery would be paying a dog before he did an action. It would be using a piece of food to get the dog's body to make an action. Reinforcing with treats after a dog gives you a behavior is a language that's clear to the dog. Dogs, food is a survival thing. Food is pleasant for the dogs. They like it. So with a puppy, to get their attention, it's a different thing than what they've ever experienced. Treats are a really wise thing to do. High value treats matter to a puppy. So if it's convenient, if it's a crunchy dog biscuit, probably not what the puppy wants. It needs to be messy, smelly, and inconvenient. So baked chicken is my favorite, cut up, or turkey hot dogs cut up. I prepare all that ahead of time in little baggies that I put in the freezer. So those are, let's see. So the reason that dogs get so excited about training is the relationship they have with you, training history that they have with you, and the puzzle, the mental puzzle of it. And they're not doing it, I mean, if you threw hot dogs on the ground and you walked away, the dog would go eat the hot dogs, but then he'd follow you because you're the bigger game in town. So if you partner yourself up with hot dogs also, what a deal. So it makes training just joyful and fun. And if you don't think about it as right or wrong, win or lose, you just change the game and you keep going. It takes the pressure off the trainer, and it takes the pressure off the pups. And if you're feeling like you have to do things a certain way, right, the pups will feel the tension in your body and they will think it's them. So lie, smile, oh, I blew that, okay, and you just keep going. A sense of humor is one of the greatest assets in training. So, first couple of things that new owners are likely to do with puppies are both pet peeves of mine, because I've learned a lot about what my options are that are different than what I used to be offered. So, specifically, and in a nutshell, and then I will talk more about this, leash work and sit. Leash work, oftentimes people will put a collar on a dog. Hopefully you're going to put a harness on a dog. They use that leash to direct the dog's body. So they take up the tension, the dog looks at them, comes toward them, they tell him he's a good dog. I think that's unwise. I use the leash as a safety line. It is not a way for me to instruct a dog about what I want them to do. I use body language and a couple of other things to teach them what I want. If I put a leash on them, it's a safety line. It's to keep the dog from leaving me, but then I employ my voice, my hands, my proximity to ask the dog to come with me. Body language makes really good sense to dogs, and that's what puppies understand from their litter mates and from me being in and around them, from anybody moving around them, the way you move your body, the dogs are very aware of that. So if you use your body to ask the dog to come with you, then when you don't have a leash, you can ask the dog to come with you. So I teach leash work to start with without a leash, because if I need a leash, I'm not doing my job, and I'll demonstrate that for you. The other is sit. I don't know why this one is so hard, and it's a huge pet peeve of mine. So first of all, the difference between sit and manning. Manning is the puppy having control, the puppy deciding that they know how to make you happy. They know how to make you talk to them, reach to them, look at them. So it's a purposeful move on the dog's part, initiated by the dog. It's not something you ask for. These puppies know how to man very well. If I position myself a certain way or use my hands or even just wait a minute, I get manning from those puppies. That puts them in control of their world. It makes them feel confident and brave, and it makes them inclined to offer more behaviors around me because that one was so successful. The reason that I have a problem with sit is a couple of things. One is that people often use sit as a way to stop a dog's body from moving. You'll see this in veterinary offices a lot. I often just have to go outside. Dogs come into the vet, they're scared, they're young, they're getting vaccinations, they're moving around, the people are waiting, they're annoyed. The dog's moving around, the owner says, sit. You know, it's like timeout, it's like a playpen. It's like, just chill, just stop. If a dog is busy, he's trying to cope in the first place. If you ask for a non-moving behavior, he's unlikely to be able to give it to you. You'll hear people say sit over and over again. You'll hear them raise their tone. You'll hear them enunciate. It's an owner being a little bit desperate about trying to control a situation. So I'm not saying the owner is wrong. What I'm saying is there's a better way. The other thing is people often can't ask for a sit. They order a sit. They say sit. Why would a dog look for that a second time? Sometimes when I work with people, I tell them they can teach an animal to sit without using the word sit. They can use kerplunk. They don't say kerplunk with the same energy because it doesn't have the same learned history for them. And dogs will respond to it better because that learned history isn't coming through the person's voice and energy level and body. So it's kind of a tricky one for owners because there is so much history for it usually for most people. So it's hard to, if you want to embrace positive reinforcement training, which I hope you will, it's harder to leave that behind. In that word, it's one of the first things that people teach puppies is sit. And puppies are busy. Puppies are supposed to be busy. They're supposed to be investigating their world. If the first thing you do to them is ask them to be still, you have stopped them from being brave explorers. That's not good for them. It's unrealistic for you to expect, and puppies don't look forward to it. Puppies like to move, puppies like to be busy, and you want that brain engaged. So there's a couple of things that I prefer. When puppies are given treats out of a person's hand when they're tiny, they learn how to take treats gently. We've talked about that in one of the other videos and posts. The other thing they learn is to watch a person's hands, because a person's hand used to have chicken in it, so it becomes something that they orient to. You can use that. The hand can be a target. You can teach a dog to touch your hand. You can teach a dog to follow your hand. I use my hands to move a dog next to me as if I have a leash before I attach the leash, because puppies understand how to follow my hand. And I do just a little bit of it, and then I click and pay them, and I do a little more, and I click and pay them. Pretty soon, I have a tiny little dog that's staring in my eyes, wagging its tail, watching my hands. I don't have to ask that dog to go train with me. He can't wait to train with me. So if I do that, I can control a dog's body. If a dog is busy in a vet's office, I can show him a target, bring him over and reinforce him. He's likely to man, he's likely to hang out and cuddle with me. He's no longer busy, he's no longer upset. I'm not saying verbal cues over and over, louder and louder. Everybody has a happy event. So those are some really compelling tools, I think. And I will show that to you with all the puppies, but I'm going to demonstrate it first of all with this little type. So this is Jessie. Jessie was my first clicker dog, and I made a lot of mistakes with her, like heavy sighs at myself for getting things wrong. And Jessie, of course, assumed that she got things wrong, and I didn't notice it. It's really helpful to watch videos of yourself and have other people watch you. Not always pleasant, but helpful. So Jessie, as a pup, was reinforced for eye contact. She's a Border Collie, so she watches eyes anyway. She was reinforced for following my hand. So I will demonstrate for you how I taught her to be on a leash. And then we'll put her on a leash and show you what that looks like with a leash. So Jessie knows that me holding the clicker, me being in this room, me putting the couch on, means that it's an opportunity for her to earn some reinforcement. Notice that she can't wait to play this game. She's not tense, she's not worried, even though I used to screw things up with her. She's watching my eyes. Puppies do the same thing. I click because she's looking at me and I want her to know that we're starting a game. Watch my hand. Puppies will follow your hand if it shows up and it smells good. So, if I allow her to come over here next to me and follow my hand, that's loose leash walking. I don't have any gear on her to move her around just because she's following my hand. And the way that's taught is to just do a few inches of it or an inch and then pay for that and then increase the distance slowly, don't ask too much. But I can move this dog all over without any gear whatsoever. If I want her to sit, that's what the puppies are going to do. They're going to man because they like to come right in front of me and plunk their little butts down. So if I'm ready and I wait and I click when their butts sit down, they know that that's what I was looking for. I prefer to use hand signals instead of verbal cues. So with Jessie, I raise my hand at the same time. I know she's going to sit down anyway. So she can't lose. I know she's going to do it. I attach the cue when I'm sure I'm going to get the behavior because we've repeated this a bunch. And the little puppies know this. So if I know she's going to sit and I raise my hand, I just taught her that if I raise my hand, I want her to sit. I taught her that in less than 5 minutes in like 30-second training sessions. This is not a long, drawn-out, elaborate thing. So we're going to tell her she's all done, which needs to be clear to the dog when a game is available and when it's not. So now I'm going to put the leash on her. Alright, I'm going to put this leash and harness on my Jessie. I've attached this to the front. Come here. I'm going to get her head in my hands, and I'm going to put this right over her head. This collar goes on her back. I'm going to reach under her chest and snap one side, and snap the other side, and I've got my dog. Now, good girl, yay! You want to make it a party that a harness goes on, that it's not a tense situation for the dog. Now, notice that I still don't need the leash. I still can move my dog the way I'm used to moving her. She's got no tension on this leash. If I were in a parking lot with her and she was going to get away from me, I can stop her from leaving, but there's no advantage to me in pulling on this dog. Look at her. Her body just shut down. She doesn't know what's going on. That's what your puppies are going to do. Good girl, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. So I'm going to give her the opportunity to go with me. Her body's up. She's happy again. A little bit nervous still, but she's a sensitive kid. So that's my speech about leashes and sit.